Sound of wind brushing through bamboo. Slow drum beats echo like a heartbeat. The tone is deep, meditative, and ancient. Voiceovers, deep, calm, yet powerful. In the silence between two sword strikes lies the secret of mastery. The ancients of Japan called it Shuhari, the path of transformation. Shu, to obey, to break, Iri, to transcend. Every warrior, every craftsman, every soul who seeks greatness must walk this path. It is the secret to learning, not just faster, but deeper, until your very spirit becomes the art itself. Sound of steel clashing, then soft embers crackling in a forge. Just as steel, Hagane, is born in fire, your mind must endure the heat of discipline. Just as the sword is folded 1,000 times to gain strength, you too must fold your habits, your failures, your repetitions, again and again, until your will becomes unbreakable. This is the spirit of Bushido, the way of the warrior, where every challenge becomes a forge, every mistake a hammer strike, every victory a sharpened edge. The world today moves fast, but the ancients taught us something greater. Speed without depth is emptiness. To learn 10 times faster is not about haste, it is about harmony. The perfect unity of patience, focus, and relentless spirit. This is not just a technique. It is an awakening. The awakening of your Shin, your true heart, forged in silence, tempered by purpose, and driven by the unyielding flame of Hagane Ishi. The will of steel. Pause. Music rises. Strings and taiko drums blend. Warrior, if you are ready to walk this path, to train your spirit as the samurai train their sword, then commit to the journey. Comment. I walk the path below. Subscribe to this brotherhood of warriors, and together we will forge ourselves in the fire of ancient wisdom. Thank you for standing among those who refuse to be ordinary, those who choose the way of mastery. Beat of silence. Then the voice deepens one last time. Now, let's break down the 5 pillars that forge the spirit of the ancient Japanese secret to learn anything 10x faster. Shuhari. In the beginning, every warrior must first bow before the form. Shu. The first stage of Shuhari means to protect, to obey, to preserve the ancient teachings without question. It is the discipline of humility, the art of surrendering to the process before claiming mastery. In this stage, the student does not seek originality. They seek purity. Just as an apprentice swordsmith repeats the same strike thousands of times under the watchful eyes of his master, the learner must carve repetition into muscle, into mind, into soul. To the untrained eye, it seems dull, endless mimicry without glory, but to the warrior, this is sacred. Every repetition polishes the spirit, erases arrogance, and implants precision. The ego resists this stage, craving creativity before foundation. But the samurai knows that without form, freedom becomes chaos. The essence of Shu lies in devotion to structure, in memorizing, imitating, and internalizing every movement until even breathing aligns with discipline. Only through such unyielding repetition does one begin to sense the invisible harmony beneath technique, the pulse of mastery that flows unseen, waiting for the worthy to feel its rhythm. In Shu, the mind becomes a vessel, empty yet absorbing like still water. The teacher's guidance is the flame, and the student's obedience is the wick that catches it. To learn in this phase is to trust the lineage of wisdom passed down through centuries. Not to question it, but to embody it. The warrior must silence the modern impatience that demands quick results. Learning 10x faster does not mean skipping steps. It means sinking so deeply into one step that it becomes instinct. The ancients understood that discipline compresses time, that through focused repetition, months of confusion can collapse into moments of clarity. Every bow before the master, every practice at dawn, every correction accepted with humility. These are not small acts. They are brushstrokes painting the soul with mastery. As the sword becomes an extension of the arm, so too does knowledge become an extension of spirit. Choose not submission to weakness. It is the voluntary submission that forges strength beyond measure. Imagine the forge, the air thick with heat, the clang of metal echoing like thunder. The swordsmith does not create beauty through haste. He repeats again and again the same rhythm: heat, strike, cool, inspect, each time shaving away imperfection. This is the same process in learning. Shu demands that we respect the ancient rhythm of mastery. We strike, we fail, we strike again, not to rush the result, but to honor the process. In these repetitions, something extraordinary happens. The body begins to understand what the mind cannot yet articulate. The form becomes alive. The bow of the archer, the brush of the calligrapher, the stance of the swordsman, all begin as rigid imitation, but through repetition they transform into something fluid, effortless, divine. The ancient masters knew that perfection is not achieved by adding more, but by removing what is unnecessary, polishing the soul until only essence remains. Thus, Shu is the art of quiet perfection, where obedience becomes meditation and routine becomes transformation. In the modern world, people rush to innovate before they have truly learned. They seek shortcuts, hacks, and instant mastery. But the samurai would smile quietly at this impatience, for in the way of Shu, mastery is not found in speed, but in stillness. To truly learn 10x faster, one must first slow down enough to absorb completely. Every motion must be deliberate, every action purposeful, every repetition sacred. When the mind learns to move with intention, time itself bends. In this state, each lesson penetrates deeper, carving pathways of understanding that last a lifetime. The student who lives in Shu does not crave novelty. They crave truth, and truth, like steel, must be forged through pressure, heat, and patience. When you kneel before form, you kneel before centuries of wisdom. And in doing so, you inherit the strength of every master who walked the path before you. There is a hidden beauty in discipline, a quiet poetry that the undisciplined never taste. To master the form before freedom is to honor the invisible thread that binds all great learners, warriors, and artists. Shu is the season of stillness before the storm, the calm in which spirit and skill are fused together. In this silence, the heart learns to listen, to correction, to rhythm, to truth. You begin to sense the subtle balance between tension and release, effort and grace. The form becomes a mirror, reflecting your weaknesses and your strengths alike. Through countless hours of disciplined repetition, you begin to see not only how the sword moves, but how you move. How thought becomes motion, and motion becomes essence. When the spirit is anchored in form, chaos cannot shake it. To walk the path of Shu is to walk with patience, respect, and the unwavering belief that before freedom, one must first master obedience. When the student has fully absorbed the form, when every movement, every breath, every instinct flows effortlessly, the next stage emerges. Ha! Ha! Means to break, to detach, to go beyond the boundary of imitation. It is the moment the cocoon tears open and the butterfly discovers its wings. In the stage of Shu, the mind was confined within the form, learning to obey, to master repetition. But in Ha, the spirit begins to test the edges of the form, to explore what lies beyond perfection. The warrior now understands that true mastery does not mean blind obedience. It means conscious evolution. Just as a blacksmith breaks old iron to forge new steel, the student must challenge the very patterns they once held sacred. It is not rebellion, it is revelation. The form was never meant to imprison you, but to prepare you. Through Ha, You begin to sense your unique rhythm, your personal flow, your own interpretation of the art. The form has served its purpose. Now you must refine it, shape it, and make it your own. In this stage, the warrior begins to question, not from arrogance, but from understanding. When one's skill becomes second nature, curiosity awakens. The swordsman no longer merely copies the strike. He begins to feel the timing, the distance, the emotion behind it. He starts to notice the invisible, the weight of stillness before movement, the pulse of energy within the opponent. This is the birth of intuition, the emergence of true awareness. But how does intuition, invisible in the web, establish? In Ha, technique becomes philosophy. The learner's obedience transforms into discernment. What once was rule becomes guidance. What once was structure becomes a canvas for expression. But this stage is dangerous, for pride lurks here, waiting to whisper that mastery has been achieved. Yet, Ha is not the end. It is a crossing. The warrior must break the form without breaking the spirit. They must innovate without losing the discipline that built them. It is only discipline that built them. The sword must still be sharp, even as the strikes become their own. Breaking the form is not destruction. It is transformation. Just as the cherry blossom must fall to make way for new life, the student must release attachment to the teacher's shadow and walk into their own light. In Ha, mistakes are no longer failures. They are experiments. The warrior learns through freedom, testing, feeling, adapting. The movements that were once rigid now flow like water, bending, changing, responding to the rhythm of life itself. The old boundaries dissolve, and what remains is a living art, fluid, breathing, evolving. This stage requires courage, for the mind can no longer hide behind structure. The responsibility of mastery now lies within. The warrior must trust their heart, Shin, their instinct, Kokoro, their spirit, Chi. Through every trial, every risk, every creative spark, the student begins to glimpse the infinite within the finite. In Ha, the true speed of learning reveals itself. When you are no longer bound by memorization, you become one with the lesson itself. You stop chasing knowledge and start dancing with it. Every mistake becomes a teacher, every success a mirror. Learning 10x faster in this stage is not about force, it is about fluidity. When the mind is free from rigidity, it processes wisdom naturally, effortlessly. This is when masters practice. The student begins to see connections others overlook, linking lessons across disciplines, discovering insights hidden between words, and transforming theory into instinct. This is where art meets individuality, where mastery meets creation. The samurai who has walked through Shu and entered Ha is no longer a follower of the way. He is a living expression of it. To live in Ha is to understand that mastery is motion. The sword is not meant to rest. It must cut, adapt, and evolve with every encounter. So too must the mind. The ancient masters of Japan knew that the moment you stop questioning, you stop growing. Ha teaches that growth is the rhythm of life, a constant cycle of refinement and renewal. To break the form is to honor it, for only by stepping beyond the structure can you see its true meaning. The warrior's journey does not end with obedience. It deepens through exploration. The fire that once forged the blade now becomes the light that guides it. The path of Ha is not for the faint-hearted. It is for those who have endured discipline long enough to wield freedom with purpose. There comes a sacred moment when the blade, the hand, and the heart move as one, where thought vanishes and action flows without hesitation. This is Rai, the final stage of Shuhari. Rai means to leave, to transcend, to depart from the form itself. In this realm, there are no techniques, no rules, no masters, only pure expression. The warrior who has walked through Shu and Ha no longer follows the path. They become the path. Their every motion, word, and thought reflect mastery without effort. Just as wind has no form but moves all things, so too does the enlightened warrior move with quiet perfection, beyond structure, beyond struggle. The sword no longer cuts, It simply exists as an extension of will. In Ri, mastery dissolves into being. There is no distinction between learner and art, between doing and being done. What was once learned consciously now flows from the soul itself, infinite and effortless. To reach I is to enter the domain of emptiness, the realm of Mujo, the impermanence of all things. The samurai understood that the highest level of mastery is not control, but surrender. Not domination over form, but unity with it. Here, every motion arises from silence, every decision from stillness. The mind no longer races to interpret or analyze. It simply responds instantly and perfectly. The archer does not aim, he becomes the arrow. The calligrapher does not draw, the brush moves through him. This is what Zen calls mushin no shin, the mind without mind. It is not thoughtless but pure awareness, untainted by ego or hesitation. The warrior who lives in Ri does not seek perfection, for he knows perfection already flows within him. Like the moon reflected on a still pond, mastery shines effortlessly when the surface of the spirit is calm. In this stage, learning transcends method. To learn 10x faster in Rai is not to absorb more, it is to remove resistance. When the mind ceases to struggle, understanding becomes instantaneous. Every experience becomes a teacher, every challenge a lesson absorbed without effort. The warrior does not need to be taught. He listens to the rhythm of life itself. Knowledge is no longer something to chase. It becomes instinct, intuition, a language spoken directly by the spirit. This is the state of flow the ancients knew well, where time slows, the self disappears, and only the moment remains. The student who reaches Ri no longer worries about right or wrong, success or failure. They simply act, and their action is truth. The ancient masters said, "When the way is forgotten, the way is mastered." That is Ri, the silent, sacred mastery that needs no name. But the path to Ri demands the deepest humility, for even at this height, pride can shatter the spirit. The moment you claim mastery, you lose it. The samurai who transcends form continues to train, not because he must, but because his heart is aligned with the way. Do. He polishes his skill endlessly, knowing there is no end. Every sunrise brings new understanding. Every motion refines his essence further. He does not chase victory, for he knows that the battle is within. The sword that once sought to conquer now exists only to preserve balance. The warrior of Ri embodies harmony, strength without cruelty, confidence without arrogance, mastery without vanity. His every breath is both training and meditation. In Rai, art and life are no longer separate. The same focus that perfects the sword stroke guides the conversation. The same patience that shapes the calligraphy shapes the heart. Every act, no matter how small, becomes an expression of the way, a living echo of the ancient wisdom carried through generations. The warrior who has transcended form moves with serenity, even amid chaos, for he knows that every storm is only wind passing over water. There is no haste, no hesitation, only presence. To reach Ari is to walk in alignment with existence itself, unburdened by fear, untouched by doubt. The ancient masters called this the way of no way, the ultimate freedom. Here, learning and living merge into one seamless motion. The warrior has become the art, and in that moment he is infinite. Steel is not born strong, it is made strong. Its beauty lies not in its shine, but in the suffering it endures in the fire. This is the essence of Hagane Ishi, the will of steel. In every warrior's journey there comes a time when skill alone is not enough. Knowledge falters, strength fades, and all that remains is will, the invisible flame that refuses to die. The ancients believed that within each of us lies a spirit as malleable as raw iron. It is shaped by adversity, hammered by failure, and tempered by perseverance. Without this fire, talent rusts and purpose cracks. The one who masters Shuhari must first forge their will, for it is the furnace in which mastery is made. The sword that cannot endure the flame will shatter in battle. The spirit that cannot endure pain will break in life. To possess Hagane no Ishi is to walk through fire willingly, to stand firm when everything within you screams to stop. The process of forging steel is violent yet sacred. Fire consumes, the hammer strikes, the sound echoes like thunder, but beneath this chaos, transformation occurs. So too must the warrior endure the hammer blows of discipline, rejection, and failure. Each strike purifies the spirit, burning away weakness, fear, and hesitation. The untrained soul seeks comfort, the forged soul seeks challenge. Hagane no Ishi is not about being fearless. It is about standing tall, despite fear. It is the unspoken power that keeps the archer steady as arrows fly, the swordsman calm before a duel, the learner patient amid struggle. True will is quiet, it does not need to roar. It moves like a mountain, silent, immovable, and eternal. Those who possess it become indestructible, not because they never fall, but because they rise every time the world breaks them. In the modern world, where distraction and weakness are disguised as ease, the cultivation of Hagane no Ishi has become rare. People chase shortcuts, avoiding the furnace that would have forged them into greatness. But the warrior knows there is no mastery without suffering. The mind must be burned clean before it can reflect truth. Pain is not punishment, it is purification. To learn faster, to grow deeper, one must first strengthen their capacity to endure. The difference between the master and the ordinary lies not in talent but in persistence. The master bleeds, sweats, and sacrifices long after others have surrendered. The will of steel is the invisible blade that cuts through excuses, delays, and doubt. It whispers again when the body trembles. It commands continue when failure strikes, and in that whisper, strength is reborn. The samurai carried this will as their core, a silent vow to never turn their back to the path. They trained not just their bodies but their spirits, conditioning themselves to withstand the unbearable. Their calm in battle was not gifted, it was forged through endless trial. Hagane no Ishi is a daily practice, a constant choice. It is choosing discipline over comfort, patience over impulse, and duty over desire. The flame that hardens steel must be kept alive within the heart, tended every morning, tested every night. When life strikes, do not curse the hammer, thank it, for every blow shapes you closer to your true form. When fatigue sets in, remember, the sword that gleams most brightly is the one that has faced the hottest fire. Let hardship be your anvil, and your spirit the blade that never bends. To live with Hagane no Ishi is to embody the eternal samurai spirit, unwavering, focused, and fierce in purpose. It is to carry fire within, but wield it with grace. The will of steel does not shout of strength, it radiates quiet endurance. When others quit, you persist. When others doubt, you believe. The true warrior does not rely on motivation, for motivation fades like smoke. He relies on resolve, the kind that endures through storms, silence, and solitude. The flame of Hagane no Ishi is what drives mastery beyond limits, transforming impossible into inevitable. With every trial you face, the steel within grows stronger, and when your will becomes unbreakable, the world itself bends before it. At the heart of every warrior's journey lies Shin no Michi, the path of the heart, the road toward inner mastery. Shin means heart, spirit, or truth, and Michi means the way. Together they represent the ultimate realization that the greatest battles are not fought with swords, but within the soul. After learning, breaking, transcending, and forging, one must turn inward to understand the source of all mastery, the self. The ancients knew that without alignment between heart and action, mastery remains hollow. Shin no Michi is the moment when the warrior stops seeking strength from the world and begins to draw it from within. The spirit becomes still, anchored by purpose yet fluid as water. This is the path where skill transforms into wisdom, and wisdom into serenity. The warrior learns that the goal is not to conquer others, but to conquer the endless storms of the self, doubt, fear, pride, and illusion. In this stage, learning becomes reflection. Every movement, every silence, every emotion becomes a mirror. The warrior observes not only how the sword moves, but how the heart reacts, to victory, to defeat, to solitude. The external form fades, revealing the unseen battle for balance and clarity. The one who walks, Shin no Michi, seeks harmony between kokuro, heart, ki, energy, and sei, calm spirit. The samurai understood that a restless heart wields a restless sword. Thus, inner mastery begins with awareness, of breath, of thought, of presence. When the heart becomes calm, perception sharpens. When ego dissolves, truth emerges. The warrior who masters their inner world moves with quiet confidence, for their strength is not dependent on circumstances. They are unshaken by chaos, untempted by praise, and undeterred by failure. They do not react, they respond. They do not rush, they flow. Such a spirit cannot be defeated, for it has already conquered itself. To walk the path of Shin no Michi is to transform pain into purpose. Every wound becomes wisdom, every loss becomes lesson. The warrior ceases to run from darkness and instead learns to walk through it with open eyes. They understand that even shadows are proof of light. Inner mastery is not achieved by denying emotion, but by embracing it, feeling deeply, yet not becoming its prisoner. Discipline is no longer an act of force, but a natural rhythm of being. Just as the ocean remains calm beneath the storm's surface, so too does the warrior's heart remain still beneath life's chaos. This inner stillness radiates outward, influencing every action, every word, every breath. The one who possesses Shin no Michi becomes a living embodiment of balance, fierce yet gentle, focused yet compassionate, grounded yet free. In this state, the pursuit of learning transforms into the pursuit of understanding. To learn 10x faster is no longer about absorbing more, but about aligning perfectly with purpose. When the heart is clear, knowledge flows without friction. The mind no longer resists, it receives. The body no longer tires, it adapts. The spirit no longer questions, it knows. This harmony allows mastery to unfold effortlessly, like cherry blossoms blooming without struggle. The warrior no longer trains to prove something. They train because it is their nature. Every sunrise becomes a meditation, every challenge an opportunity to refine the spirit. The mastery of Shin no Michi is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, enduring, eternal. The strength that does not need to be seen, to be felt. Ultimately, Shin no Michi is the return home, the realization that the journey was never about becoming someone else, but remembering who you truly are. It is the way of those who carry peace even amid battle, who see the divine in every moment, and who walk through life not seeking mastery, but being mastery. The samurai who lived by Shin did not fight for glory, but for truth. They understood that to master the self is to master the universe. For the same spirit flows through both. When you walk Shin no Michi, every heartbeat becomes a drum of purpose, every breath a whisper of wisdom. You move not with force, but with grace. You no longer chase the path, you are the path. And in that moment, your journey, the journey of mastery, becomes infinite. Warrior, you have now walked through the ancient rhythm of Shuhari, from obedience to breaking, from breaking to transcendence, and beyond, into the forging of an unbreakable will and the awakening of the inner path. These are not just lessons of learning, they are the laws of life itself. Every strike of effort, every scar of failure, every breath of discipline has been leading you here, to the understanding that mastery is not a destination, it is a way of being. The path does not end with knowledge, it begins with it. What you seek is not outside of you, it is already burning within, waiting for you to shape it with the hammer of will and the patience of faith. The ancient samurai knew that the true battle was never against an opponent. It was always against weakness, distraction, and fear within. To learn 10 times faster is not about rushing ahead, it is about moving in harmony with purpose. When the spirit is steady, learning flows like water. When the heart is silent, wisdom speaks. You must walk forward as both student and master, humble enough to learn and fearless enough to transcend. So now, let the fire of Hagane no Ishi burn within your heart. Let Shu remind you of discipline, Ha inspire your freedom, Ri guide your transcendence, and Shin no Michi keep your spirit centered on truth. Carry these principles not as words, but as a code, the code of a modern warrior walking an ancient path. You are not merely learning faster, you are awakening deeper. Stand tall, breathe slow, and remember, every moment of struggle, every repetition, every quiet victory is another fold of the steel within you. The forge is never over, but neither is your strength. The world will test your resolve, but your spirit, once tempered, will never shatter. Now go forth, with fire in your heart and stillness in your soul, and walk the eternal way of Shuhari, for the path of mastery is endless, and you are its living flame.